And lastly, Handler added she wasn't surprised by their humor and just wanted to give Hart the elevated roast he deserved. What does that mean? It's a roast. It's not trying to be nice to these people, and I appreciate Tony for not even saying like, oh, but I love you so much. The roast is just go in on him. But welcome to the show with Joe. Today, we're going to talk about Chelsea Handler calling out Shane Gillis and Tony Hinchcliffe for racist jokes at the Kevin Hart roast. Now, what's crazy about this is the roast was actually pretty good as a whole. I enjoyed it. It was cool to see like Big J Okerson there, and Lizzo was really cool, surprisingly. And there's also, I forget her name, but she was on Shane's podcast, MSSP. She did a big like fro type thing, and she was really funny, and I was very surprised by that. But yeah, let's get back to Chelsea here. So this is interesting to me. Chelsea says she was grossed out by Shane Gillis and Tony Hinchcliffe's racist jokes at Kevin Hart's roast on May 10th. The comedian noted that she wants to elevate the show, knowing they'd bring disgustingness. Handler also said that she received DMs from their exes about them being sexist bigots. Okay. So after this podcast happens, and what's interesting is they're trying to say that Tony basically did a response based on his Kill Tony episode, which we'll get to. But Kill Tony records their episodes 3 weeks beforehand, so this is kind of like an answer before any of this, actually. And probably the not craziest, but like one of the jokes that really offended people was Tony Hinchcliffe says something along the lines of like, George Floyd would be looking up at us or something, like implying he's in hell. But Kevin Hart also, well, let's stick here. This is what Chelsea said on Dion Cole's podcast a day later. She said, I mean, it was ick. It was gross. She said of their bits. The comedian also claimed she heard from their ex-girlfriends on DMs just about everything we know, that they're racist, that they're bigots, that they're sexist. One of the exes apparently said that Shane Gillis thinks he's invincible because even though he was fired from Saturday Night Live 2019 for using derogatory language, he was later invited back to host twice. Handler went on to specifically call out Shane Gillis's joke about lynching. I don't find those jokes funny. Jokes about lynching black people. Lynching is not a joke. That's worse than the R word. During the roast, Gillis said, Kevin is so short you'd have to lynch him from a bonsai tree. I mean, that's pretty funny. Handler also mentioned Hinchcliffe's set aimed at fellow performer Cheryl Underwood, during which he brought up her late husband Michael Sparksman's suicide. Oh, it's Cheryl Underwood. She's awesome. So like she already said that these jokes were fine. Shane had called beforehand to make sure it was okay with her. Otherwise, he wouldn't have said it, he said. So Hinchcliffe said her husband committed suicide 3 years ago into marriage. I've been sitting next to her for 2 hours, and I have to ask how did she last that long? I found them making fun of Cheryl Underwood's dead husband who committed suicide to be disgusting. You know, she's fine with that. If she says she's fine with that, she's fine with that. I wasn't fine with that. And lastly, Handler added she wasn't surprised by their humor and just wanted to give Hart the elevated roast he deserved. What does that mean? It's a roast. It's not trying to be nice to these people, and I appreciate Tony for not even saying like, oh, but I love you so much. The roast is just go in on him. But anyway, she says, there was so much disgustingness that I knew it was going to be a gross vibe. I would be able to elevate it, no problem. And that's what I went to do. I was like, all right, well, I'll pick it up because they're going to try to bring me down. After Handler's podcast appearance, Gillis shared a statement, so Shane responds to that after seeing it. He says, this is a big moment for Chelsea. I'm glad she's capitalizing. Good for her. We're all rooting for her. Anyway, come see me July 17th at a football stadium in Philly. So, I mean, that you can't get a better response than that. Chelsea's been off for years, and Shane's still blowing up bigger than he was before. And then Gillis. Okay, so Shane shares a link to the conversations that he had. Oh, it's a video. We don't need to see this. But Gillis shared a link to his conversation with Underwood on his podcast Wednesday, during which he said she wasn't offended by Hinchcliffe's joke about her late husband. Sometimes humor is the thing, Underwood says. It's the most uncomfortable humor that lessens the tension and the stress. Cheryl Underwood, cool lady. As far as the jokes about Handler during Hart's roast, Handler told Cole she knew Roganites, Gillis, and Hinchcliffe would be lazy because they do that for a living. I'm pretty secure with who I am. I don't care if these guys say I'm a whore, like I'm doing exactly what they're doing, except I'm a woman and I'm allowed to. I'm rich, I'm famous, I'm hot, so I'm fucking people. So she says all that. I mean, in the big picture, it's really nothing because she's a no-name, and it's like trying to cancel people when it's already passed. Like, everyone gets it, like, relax. So this is from Kill Tony, which was recorded 3 weeks before the end of the roast. But here's what Tony responded. Oh, let me turn the volume up.
It's the first time I've been called a Nazi multiple times in just a few hours. I guess that's what L.A. writers' rooms, all these, a lot of mentally ill liberals out there that somehow with all these blacks and Jews and Mexicans around me, I guess I'm a Nazi somehow. I guess the guy that pulls names out of a bucket, giving everybody an opportunity, is a Nazi. Isn't that something? And I got called a Nazi, gay, a racist over and over again. I'm none of those three things. A little fun fact. But they are they are fat, ugly, black, Jewish. Everything I said was real about them. Just a reminder. Because I woke up today, and even though well, there's news articles, because the news isn't real, nothing is real, that say that I got lit up by Chelsea Handler, which is very, very funny, because that's not what happened at all. You can't believe anything you see or read on the news anymore. You have to actually watch the thing for yourself. She was a bit of a I'll tell you that. She just kept coming at me over. She said I took the Saudi Arabia money. She was like wrong about things. The writers just didn't do her any justice. But then,
so what he meant by that was pretty cool of them. Shane and Tony were one of the few comedians that didn't accept going to Saudi Arabia to do this show called Raya. And apparently hundreds of millions of dollars were given to like big names, but apparently they were asked and didn't go. I know Shane was. I don't know if Tony was or not. So it's kind of interesting. He's not like claiming that he was going to go or he wasn't going to go at all. He's just kind of leaning into it like, yeah, like I didn't go. He wasn't asked, I don't think. But
and then the teleprompter, the fun fact, the teleprompter only went down during my set. And it gave me a lot of opportunity to remind Chelsea Handler what she looks like and where her life is.
Yeah, so that was Tony's response. Kevin Hart got into it with Charlemagne the God, defends Tony Hinchcliffe. Yeah, so let's see if there's a video. It's insane. It's so crazy. But yeah, so he goes on Charlemagne the God. I don't have to read all this, but so what they said was yeah, so here was Tony's joke. Tony said, "The black community is so proud of you right now. George Floyd is looking up at us all, laughing so hard he can't breathe," in reference to Kevin Hart. And then I guess Charlemagne and the other hosts of the show with Kevin Hart on said, "Yeah, the George Floyd joke, it wasn't a tasteful joke in our culture and to our audience," Hart said, "but our audience that's watching the roast, if you're watching the roast, you get why they're doing it. You get why the racial humor is on the table." Jon Stewart defends Oh, look, yeah. Jon Stewart had previously defended Tony, saying he's a very funny guy about the Puerto Rico joke that really made Tony become a real face of the right comedian, I guess. Um, but I think this is still Kevin talking. I wasn't shocked. Like, that's what they do. He said, recalling previous wild roasts of a celebrity. It happens every year when they do the roast. It's not new. This isn't a new agenda. It's not a new approach to comedy. Charlemagne then directly asked, do you feel like Tony Hinchcliffe went too far when he made that joke about George Floyd? Kevin Hart said, it's Tony Hinchcliffe. Like, I don't expect less. I don't expect more. Charlemagne noted that he did not wish to put words in Hart's mouth, saying that from what he can tell, the argument is that for such roast jokes that go beyond pale are entirely the point. And then Kevin says, yes, that's why you're there. I hate to say this, but I'm not going to because we're being honest. But I'm going to because we're being honest. People are talking about that joke, talk about the set. Tony has arguably had the best set or one of his best sets. And then I don't like when people joke about violent, tragic death, Charlemagne added, noting that he felt similarly to a joke about Charlie Kirk's death as told by Pete Davidson. Pete had a great set too. So yeah, I mean, overall, Kevin Hart was okay with it. The only person not okay with all of this was Chelsea Handler, who no one's heard from in 20 years when her show ended. But also at the same time, I got to mention, I love this little thing. Jeffrey Ross brought up the fact that Tony has this hanging on his wall in his house before I finish this off. It's a quote by Teddy Roosevelt. It is not the critics who count. It's not the man who points out how strong a man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust, sweat, and blood, who strives violently, who errs, who comes short again and again because there is no effort without error or shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. I read that way because that's how I imagined Tony starting his day. Very cool, Tony. So anyways, so the controversy of all of this, and getting to the main point here, is Chelsea was absolutely giddy around Tony before the drama roast. Ooh. So, according to Rob Shooter, Naughty But Nice Substack, Wednesday, a source saw Handler, 51, flirting with Tony Hinchcliffe, 41, backstage ahead of the Kevin Hart roast, and claimed that she was absolutely giddy around him. Chelsea was laughing extra hard, hovering around him, touched his arm. Everyone noticed it immediately, the source told Naughty But Nice, adding that Hinchcliffe didn't return the admiration. Tony wanted nothing romantic with Chelsea. He liked the attention, but he wasn't interested in her in that way. However, sources believe that Hinchcliffe's lack of interest may have been why the Chelsea Lately alum's jabs at the MAGA comedian were more pointed than usual. Tony felt Chelsea came after him harder when she realized he wasn't interested, another source claimed. And when Tony feels attacked, he goes scorched earth. That sure sounds like Big J. Okerson. During the Netflix special, Handler took aim at Tony. Tony is what happens when women don't have safe access to abortion care. That's her joke. And then this wasn't just comics roasting each other, a final source added. There were real feelings involved. So they're saying that Chelsea was hitting on Tony, and Tony wasn't about it. And looking at her picture right here, kind of looks like she's very similar looking to Tony. This I don't want to be mean, but that's a lot of plastic surgery. All right, this has been the show with Joe. I think we accomplished a lot here. Thanks for watching. Smell you later.